Hey everybody, welcome to Resident Evil Resistance. I am Swoops here to talk to you about a build for Daniel. So this will be a whole build guide along with a video of gameplay. Now I do Daniel sometimes. He's not my favorite. I have a frustrating time playing Daniel sometimes. You know, you're gonna have to deal with stuns. You're gonna have to deal with a lot of shit that you don't want to have to deal with. It gets frustrating playing as him. And then as far as building decks for him, you know, he's kind of boring to me. I think with his passives, I think in a lot of cases it's like, oh, why not just go Annette? Annette's a lot more fun with her passives. Her passives actually do a lot more for her, I think, in general when you're dealing with creatures. Not to mention that the bioweapon I mean, Birkin's not the greatest, but just versus Tyrant, Birkin is miles better, I think, than Tyrant. Yeah, Mr. X is just really slow and has a lot of trouble. Can be frustrating sometimes. But out of that frustration and boredom, I think I found a build that I really like to play. It's really fun. Mainly, that's the main thing. It's a very fun build. And I'm basically going to go over the build itself, and then we are going to, of course, jump into a match, kind of the application, how to play it. So let's jump into it. Okay? Okay. Alright, so here we are at the build, which I am calling Ambush Daniel, aka Back Alley Daniel, aka All My Homies Hate Val, aka Gorilla Daniel can be appropriate. I have a bunch of names for it, but I like to settle on Ambush just because it's simple. Kind of explains the way to play this build, which main differences of this build are going to be the equipment is much different than you most see other Daniel equipment, and then the way to play it as well. So the passives here are going to be Tyrant's going to be hook speed and damage. I really don't think there's any reason to run Bull Rush. Even if you run Bull Rush damage, it's like there's no point. If you get a Bull Rush, if you actually get it, you're going to down them with hook punches anyways. So I take hook punch. Rend for Bloodlust. I think we'll go over this at the end, but I think there's benefits to running Vampire. So there's a little bit of flexibility in this deck, and we'll kind of go over that at the end. If you want to run anything else, I think you can slot in some other things. Endurance, for sure. I was running Sadist back when this was a little bit more of a meme alpha version of the build, just because I really like damage. But Endurance is just going to be so much better because when you control a creature, you're going to get more swipes in anyways, typically, which generally means more damage. So Sadist actually doesn't do anything because you're getting more damage with Endurance with more swipes. The cards. Now this is where you're looking at, it's probably going to be a little bit different. So Dealer Regen instead of Berserker, and Equilibrium Mod. Equilibrium Mod did get buffed a couple patches ago. They reduced its cost, I believe, which is whatever. Cost really isn't important. But they buffed the bio energy gain that you actually get from it in Area 3, and I actually think it's really significant. This is based on the cost of the cards in your hands. So the higher the cost of the cards, total cost, the faster it recharges. And it seems like there's about a cap at around 40-ish% increase in speed. That was with 20 cost in hand, so it was like a mod, a liquor, and then another zombie I had. But even if you have, let's say, 9 in hand, your bioenergy is recharged probably about 28%. And this is going to stack really well with Creature Mod, because Creature Mod's 10. That counts towards the recharge. So in a lot of cases, you're going to get, in Area 3, you're going to get an over 30% boost in your bioenergy charge, which is actually really good. And you'll see why with the deck, especially because we're running more zombies instead of tough zombies that are continually regenerating. And Armored Zombie is great. I think it's good. But Daniel, I always feel, is a little bit hampered in Area 3 because of his bioenergy, because you can't set many encounters. Armored zombie is expensive, and then you're not going to be able to get the energy to actually pay for armored zombie that much. And unless maybe you're running boosters, but then boosters can come with their own problems. So I like running Equilibrium mod. Now the equipment is where I think a lot of changes occur. Now this probably looks familiar to some other builds that I've seen. So Annette's, I think, run kind of this combo, and I think the one cost Spencer runs pretty much something similar to this as well. But so the core of this build is going to be Enhanced Brain 2, Enhanced Brain 3, and Fresh Blood 3. Now, Enhanced Brain is going to make your creatures that you place, that you don't control, active very fast. Now, the weird thing is there is a limit. When you control a zombie, from what I've tested, it seems to be that when you control a zombie, there's a base time that you can actually start swiping in. And it doesn't seem to be, at least significantly, if anything, affected by Enhanced Brain. So Enhanced Brain is more about the creatures that you spawn that you are not going to control. Which you might be thinking, well, if you're not going to control them, what's the point? Daniel's supposed to control zombies. The big thing about this is that it's really going to help your homies when you ambush the hell out of them at doors and things like that. Your zombies are going to be active quick. They're going to be ready to go. And Fresh Blood, of course, increases their tendency to grab, so it means they're going to get a lot more grabby, a lot more bitey. You can place zombies right on top of them, and really quick, they're either going to have to move and get out of the way, or they're going to take a bite. So it's really good at forcing people to pay attention to what's happening to them. Otherwise, they're going to get bit and they're going to hurt. Now, Muscle Fibers is probably the one you can change the most, I think. I'm running Muscle Fibers just to, it maxes out your points to 20. The damage increase is great, and I do find that the health you get after a grab, because the whole point is for zombies to be biting, the health that they get after a grab and a bite actually does help. It helps them stay alive a little bit, and people have a tendency to rush past Daniel zombies, and if they stay alive a little bit longer with this little health boost, they can actually come in useful later. If they're not getting bites, then it doesn't matter, but the attack boost is good too. You could probably run like an attack buff, like a max attack buff or a max resilience buff. I've also tried Researcher's Brain. I don't find Researcher's Brain as helpful. The survivability bonus is not that good, and the movement speed is kind of whatever, because we are going to be running Berserk anyways. So going on to the deck. Now, here's where the deck's a little bit different too. You're really not going to be focusing on a lot of buffs and super buffing one zombie to make him a pain in the ass to deal with. You are going to have two zombies that are going to be your go-tos as far as controlling. So that would be partially armored and infectious. Of course, regular zombies all got a health buff in the most recent patch, so that really helps. Partially armored, infectious, and regular zombie. Also, all those only give 5 seconds now, you'll notice, as opposed to the 10 that tough zombie and infectious gives. The idea of the deck being that you are going to set up a room as best you can, primarily have one controllable creature in there, shoot your buffs as necessary, and then when it's time to go, either behind a door or around a corner, it's kind of flexible, you will then spawn your homies on top of them, hopefully creating chaos, creating a diversion. All of them will have to deal with the individual zombie or get bit. They'll have to scatter, and in that chaos, that's when you leave with a controlled zombie and try to make it just a nightmare for them, and hopefully get some downs. Honestly, the most fun that I have in this with this build is just max encounters and creating chaos and honestly trying to down the whole team. I know downs aren't that good right now, but I find with the chaos that I create, um, you can get a lot of downs actually, and it's fantastic. Um, Zombie Dog, is actually, I like him a lot, especially with the grab and creature active bonus. He's also cheap, which is nice. It kind of goes with the theme of the deck of keeping it cheap. And he can come up with some clutch moments, which is really great. Um, yeah, so that's basically the idea of the deck. We'll get a little bit more in depth as we kind of go in and explain it during the actual match. All right, so jumping right into the match here, and this is on PC, by the way. So this is on PC. This is a pre-recorded match. I'm doing audio over the top of it, so apologies for any jarring, quality issues or anything like that. But I wanted to pick a match that these aren't the highest level survivors, but this is a they have high levels, and this is a team comp that is trying to counter me. Actually, they were surprised. I think this build in general is different and weird, and it's surprising, which I like. But they were trying to counter me, which I really liked. They have a team comp that normally should be messing me up. So I'll try to go over my motivations and everything. You'll see right here, Martin, Valerie, 68. You'll notice she starts running full-on flash grenade build, and then a high-level Tyrone. So theoretically, they could roll through me. So I'll try to keep up, because this build does play fast. For the most part, it plays fast.
Bonjour.
And you'll see right here, I'm just kind of trying to set up. The whole point is to get a room set up. You want a room to be threatening ahead of time. You're going to place zombies on them, but you absolutely want to be threatening ahead of time. Now, I probably should have just placed the dog first and then preserved him as well, but that's whatever. I noticed they're already coming. Now, here we go. Bam, bam. Try to lock the door. Val got through and missed the bite. That's okay. That just means that Martin's going to get bit. 15 seconds right there. And even if they killed those two zombies are only worth 5 seconds apiece. I did the damage, I got some infection, and I ended up time negative in this case, which is much better. And then I just keep up. Right now, Martin's using him up. I think he's kind of sandbagging a little bit, and then he switches to Matilda. This build does really good wasting resources. I mean, not necessarily wasting resources, but it will ignore resources a lot of times, and it will also, it'll force them to make choices about their resources. So even if Val's running Molotov, she's going to have to decide whether to throw it at the zombie right at her feet to help her ally. This build is all about causing chaos and having them make choices. So you see right here, I'm just kind of trying to separate them some way to get an active zombie and force them to start getting separated, to make mistakes. I decided to move on right here because they already got the key in that loop. I make mistakes in this one for sure. This is still early on in me using the build. I didn't have any support, but I managed to pull a flash grenade, which is awesome, and then get in a bunch of swipes. Really good damage. Tracker Mine helps with that, and that's another reason not to run Sadist, is you're going to have Tracker Mine, and you're going to get more swipes because of Endurance. So setting up the room right here, I got 2 zombies to control, and now I try to move quick, right? Move quick, they're ready to set up the door, start placing zombies, give them something to deal with. This is a bad dog placement. Dog placement's better in the back line, where he's kind of away from everything, but he can catch up and cause chaos. You don't want to put him right there because he's just going to die quickly, even though he's... So I pull a flash. You can already tell Val's using a lot of flashes, but luckily that zombie stayed away from it. I could have closed the door behind me. Would have been smarter, but didn't matter. Get another zombie right here. They're still spending time. And I wasn't able... The unfortunate part is they killed these zombies too fast, right? I wasn't able to get into a zombie, control it quick enough, and cause a little bit of havoc. Which is the ideal thing, but sometimes it's not going to happen. And that's okay. That's an important thing to remember with this build, is don't get frustrated. If you get stunned, if one of your zombies dies, if you're a controlled zombie and you die, shake it off, keep moving. the idea is to have a lot of um, interactions, encounters. Um, this one, I was too slow, right? I was too slow, but they stay. See, they stayed. They didn't move quick enough, and I pulled Martin's Fever skill. But I'm still doing good. I still get enough swipes, bites. Martin ends up with infection. Tyrone ends up with infection. They're both bleeding, and I pulled a lot of resources for Area 1. I mean, I think I got 2 flashbangs from Val and a couple fever skills already in Area 1. So in 2 minutes on the clock, I think it's doing pretty good. That's the thing, right? It's easy to snowball Daniel if Area 1 and 2 don't work your way, but this build actually is able to snowball with them in a good way, I think. So I have lickers in this preset. I think it's pretty good to have them. I typically have like Tough Zombies Infectious or something already set up, but you can go lickers too for sure. They're really good targets for your buffs. And you'll notice I'm not, like I use buffs when I can. If I can get in 2 buffs, great, but generally speaking, you want to be moving fast and you don't have modified gear, so 1 buff is good. So, okay, so lickers go out, I start hitting with the ambush. Now this is a tough area because they still, if you don't get the back line with zombies quick enough, then they can fall back to the spawn, right? And you don't want that to happen. But the idea was at least to cause a little bit of distraction, let the lickers do their thing. So Val goes off on her own, right? Higher level, he wants to clear the objectives, he wants to rush because he knows he's running out of time. So I start pressuring him, and he gets by the dealer pretty quick. Another flash to stun. So he gets by the dealer, but he steps in a tracker. And then he rushes past his teammates. His teammates now have to deal with the dealer and the other zombies in the back. So I decided to go Tyrant while everything else is flashed, and I caught Val trying to throw another freaking flashbang. No. We don't deal with Vals here. No flashbangs for Vals. Get down. I mess up a grab right here because I thought I was going to get it. I hate Mr. X. I got caught on a fence. His worst enemy. Ha! Tracker mine. Fantastic. So right here, I've got 2 downs. Honestly, that's huge. That's a minute. Tyrone's got the key. He ran off with the key. He did 1 objective. But I'm trading a minute for 30 seconds here, basically. Get out of my way. And then I was just waiting in the middle area to see kind of where they're going to try and approach. Draw the kick. That, you know, it was whatever. I was running out of time anyways. Supply zombie. That sucks. But this got a bite from Jill. Fantastic. So I try to capitalize on that. Another thing that this build's good at is actually protecting the supply zombie to a certain degree, because a lot of the build revolves around spawning zombies on top of things. You are a little bit better at protecting the supply zombie, I think, with its increased health, and then you can control it with endurance. It's really great. So Tyrone, he's trying to, so everyone at this point is trying to solo it, right? And there's a lot of times they're splitting up. I don't think this is a bad team, but they're definitely not coordinated or pre-made, right? Which you can run into problems. I abandoned him here, and I don't think I should have. But I think I was checking to see what the other survivors were up to. But doesn't matter. I stack up the room well enough anyways, and 1 zombie gets a bite, and then I go in for another bite, and I get the down anyways. But I couldn't prevent him from doing the objective. Draw the flash. So that's the thing, right? They're gonna have flashes. They're gonna have stuns. Step on the tracker. They're gonna have those things. What you want is you want the economy, and you want the ability to keep up the zombies. So as they flash, as they stun you, you're still dropping zombies and controlling them. I tried to set up this area. I really didn't have enough time, but it's no big deal. I actually pull a couple good things, I think. They're distracted by the dog. Managed to get some swipes in. I probably should have just gone for a bite. And then here I go for a bite, and I'm too late. They already kill me. So, little bit too slow, and you know, the setting it up was questionable anyways, but because you're able to set up so many encounters, it's not really a big deal. It's not a huge loss. And then again, I try to, so I'm very aggressive with this build, which I think is good. You want to lean on the side of aggressiveness. And I was trying to infect them. So I didn't get any infection, but I pulled another flashbang. So that's kind of a nice thing, especially with Val, about this build, is that she's at least going to have to make choices between mollies and flashbangs. Now, depending on her build, that might not matter. If you can just go molly anyways and destroy your creatures in one hit, that is a possibility. I ran into a couple molly Vals, and the nice thing is you try to set up your zombies all over. So she can only, you want her to only be able to take out one zombie at a time with mollies. I made a couple of mistakes in this area, but overall, not bad. So I started trying to set up this area. I hate this area of Abandoned Park just because of the camera angles. I'm not good at maneuvering around them just yet. Yeah, this whole first part was a kind of mistake by me. Okay, I think Martin's gonna light off, right? So I was a little bit too slow with this, and I tried to set up to get her to bite. Oh, see how close that was? So ideally, you want to potentially set up further behind her, and then set up Mr. X behind, right? Because you can't let them get back to the. You have to backtrack in those cases and not let them get back to spawn. Your creatures are essentially traps. But I managed to get Martin, unfortunately, because of this dumb area and how it works now. Martin's going to be able to crawl back to safety, and I'm just realizing that now. So I'm trying to like move him. Hey, move! Get out of here! No, move! Get out of here! Come on! And then nothing. So yeah, at that point I'm like, all right, well, you can have all my zombies. Mr. X is useless now, so I'm just going to set up, lock the door, set up for the next area. I think Martin still got bit somehow, which is. Or no, I think he just didn't. Yeah, they just rezzed him. They didn't use spray or heal or anything like that. Okay, so again, I try to use my time for 2 buffs, but especially with Tyrone can be very fast, and you don't have time set up for 2 buffs. And then at this point, I just start setting up. I set them all up. I try to give them as much problem at their back end as possible. And I'm not controlling anything, which, you know, is valid in some cases with this build. Sometimes you don't need to control stuff, just because the zombies are so aggro, they're so bitey, and quick that it doesn't matter. I pulled another flash from Val, hop out. I've got a little bit of energy, pop a new zombie in there, lock the door, try to get the door locked, get another zombie, another flash, and kick. And they run past all the zombies. So that's the thing, right? A lot of times with Daniel, they're going to be trying to run past the zombies. I try to get a bite. Jill's got freaking her passive. I think I got another bite from Jill, though. No, I didn't. But I'm getting lots of infection with this build, too, which is great. Try to place a tracker right there, put it around their feet. I'm just constantly putting stuff around their feet, right? Put it around their feet, put it around their feet, worry about it. And then try to set up this room later. At this point, I'm just trying to keep up with them, right? That's the whole point, is just trying to keep up with them. And this build does a decent job, actually, just keeping up with them. And at this point, I already have infection. I'm already getting energy back. You can see, now I got Gen Large. I try to get rid of a buff, because what else am I going to do with it? Dog out, probably would have been better somewhere else. Get a partially armored. I pull another flash from Val. Try to get over to her. She's caught. Another flash from Val. I'm pulling so many flashes from this Val, and still milking time through infection, through swipes, the occasional bite. It's actually pretty great, and the Equilibrium mob comes in really, really handy in these area 3s. That was me trying to set down the bridge, but I couldn't in time. I actually ended up just leaving it and going Mr. X, because there's not much time left. They can't get to the, can't do anything, really. So that is Ambush Daniel. I think that the team could have done a little bit more to counter it, for sure. they could have killed the zombies a little bit more outright, gotten those 5 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds apiece here and there to help their time situation. I've certainly gone against pre-made SWAT teams, and it's still tough. It's still a problem. This isn't going to eliminate that entirely, but I have a lot of fun when I play it regardless. And I feel like every encounter I have the chance to potentially down someone, which is nice. And if they start going a little bit, heavier damage, taking out your zombies outright, there's the possibility you could go maybe enhancer regen in there instead, maybe researcher's brain to up the resistance to damage a little bit. In general, I think that doesn't help your survivability that much, but it is an option. It is a possibility. I don't think you want to go too many enhancers in your deck because then it clogs up the deck and it's going to take you longer to set up. You generally don't have the time to get one or more buffs. You just have the time to get a controlled zombie with a buff or two, max. So something to keep in mind. But overall, very, very fun deck. I hope you try it out. Let me know what you think. Have fun with it. I have a bunch of decks I come up with and kind of work through. So let me know if you want to see more decks. This is my first time kind of doing something like this. I had fun, and I hope you do too. And keep playing Resistance. It's a pretty sweet game. All right, see you guys.